Yo, 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 yo. One, 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 one. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Peace and love, beautiful people. This is Brother Ali. This is the Travelers Podcast. Thank you for being here. Very grateful, very humbled that you share your thoughts with me and share yourself with me and share your time with me and just expose yourself to the world that I want to share with you. The beautiful people that I know, the experiences that I've had, the communities that I'm blessed to be a part of, the creative world that I'm blessed to inhabit and to live my life in and to explore life in, the spiritual world and life and community and tradition that's fed me, nurtured me, shaped me, molded me. All of this stuff is what comes up in the music, and I think it's why I've been able to connect. I never had a big record company behind me. I never had a big, distribution thing. I never had a big marketing budget. We had friends that tried as much as we could to help each other. And, but none of us knew what we were doing. And we've never really had a real relationship with the entertainment industry. That we flirted with it and they flirted with us. But I've lived an amazing, incredible life. And I don't mean that to say like I'm amazing. And also I can't say I'm not amazing. The more that happens, the more I realize, well, I don't know what I am. And it really feels pretty worthless for me to try to figure out what that even is. Okay, so you figure out, so say you rate yourself, then what comes at the end of that? You know what I mean? But when I say amazing, I just mean that the creator, the source of it all, has been very good to me, especially in the relationships I've been able to have. I'm just going to readjust my situation here a little bit. But the creator has been really good to me in terms of the opportunities to be real and the opportunities to heal and to grow and to check it out and to sit with it all, So having these different people on the podcast has been my attempt to share this, because the people that have listened to my music and have supported it have bought CDs and records and tapes and t-shirts and hoodies and concert tickets and VIP packages and, supporting the sponsors that we have here. And we have subscribers now, all of that stuff. Like I don't have any other source of revenue. You know what I mean? Everything I have, like you guys gave me. And sometimes I have a lot, sometimes I have a little. Most of the time I have a little. But whatever it is, there's nothing like the ability to just be free and to follow your heart. Like that's really special. And that opportunity is what has given me the space to really dive into all these different things. And so the conversations on the podcast are an attempt for me to share that. Also, I know enough about myself to know that I need outlets, man. I need to be able to talk and share and work it out. I'm a person that processes out loud. And I'm grateful to do that. And it means that I'm not always going to feel great about everything that I've said. But if it's said in sincerity, then I don't feel bad about it either. And this episode that we had last week was a major one. Everybody that's been listening to the podcast, you've heard me talk about Resma over and over and over again. There are certain people that I'm like, these people are treasures, man. These people are gifts. And I want the world to know about them and benefit from them, because I really believe that the source has put us here together. And these are treasures. These are minerals, vitamins, nourishment. These people are water for the soul that have helped me. And it's like, you can't just sit on this stuff, because, I believe that the creator's given me something to share. And it's a secret a lot of the time. Like what I want is for people that would appreciate what I do, to just be able to have access to it. That's all. And that's why I've never wanted to be in a situation where people promote me and shove me down people's throats. But if there's somebody, I know that there are people there that would benefit. Like the creator has given me something that's helpful for other people. that it's not only that I'm healing through all of this stuff, but other people can heal too. And that's what really means the most to me. And I just want those people to have access to it. It's their right, and I feel the same way about my friends. So, I put out these episodes with Slug from Atmosphere, and there's friends of mine that have no idea who Atmosphere is, just because they're not in that social group that Atmosphere has been exposed to so far. And the same is true for Cornel West and for Imam Zaid Shakir and for Sa Rock and for Maimuna Yusuf and but there are certain people that I'm like all the time. I'm like, man, the world has to know about Amir Suleiman. And we recorded an episode with Amir Suleiman. We just had this amazing experience that I'll get into inshallah in a second. But I wanted to actually take a second and just talk and process the last episode. We've got this episode with Amir Suleiman recorded, and we'll share that next week. Because Amir Suleiman, Resmaa Menakem are some of the names that I'm always like, do you know Resmaa Menakem? Do you know about Amir Suleiman? These two are people that I talk about all the time. So I just want to take a second, though, because this Resmaa episode has me having really a new level of conversation with myself. Something about sharing it with the world really did a new thing after I've had these conversations with Resmaa. And it's been a while since we had a one-on-one, so that episode is really powerful. Man, where to begin? I just had this amazing experience with kind of like my cohort of spiritual creatives. This group in Chicago, and they also operate in Atlanta, and they do stuff all over the country and around the world, really. But Iman, the Inner City Muslim Action Network, did this amazing project with them. And Rami Neshashibi is the head of Iman, and he's got an amazing team. Shout out to Alia Bilal and to Binta and to Taqi and to Sadia. And, I could just go on down the line, Omar Carter and the brother Shamar and Rafi Peterson and Jamali and so many of the people that have been part of that project. But that group in Chicago has been really essential to my life's work and trajectory. I met them in 2004, and what Iman does, it's a Muslim-led organization by a Palestinian-American brother who grew up in the south side of Chicago. And he brings together the things that matter to him, which are the same things that matter to me. So he brings together artists with spiritual masters, with organizers and activists. These are the things that touch me and that matter to me most. The artists, the creatives, and then the spiritual guides and the activists and organizers. These three kind of streams are really one stream in my heart. I don't see them as separate. So, Iman is that's how I met my primary spiritual teacher, Dr. Omar Farouk Abdullah, who's speaking at the beginning of the Own Light video. It's how I got close with the particular group of people that I was with this past week, which is Drea Denur, one of the most amazing singers, songwriters, composers, band leaders, just a gift from God. Her voice is, and it's not just the sound that comes out of her, but it's her state, it's her being. And also Amir Suleiman was there, who am not shy about saying is the greatest living poet. I know a lot of incredible poets. Saul Williams wrote the liner notes for Uncle Sam Goddamn. You know what I'm saying? I've been around incredible poets. I mean, I know if I start listing names, it's like I'm saying those people are second, so it wouldn't sound right. But Amir Suleiman, there's nobody like him in this world. There's not a force like that in the world. And then Kadir Latif was with us. Beautiful, amazing brother. Maimuna Yusuf was with us, and she was on the podcast. If you haven't heard the Mumu Fresh episode, please go back and listen to that. But she was in this space, and we were presenting this album that they made called This Love Thing, that's available on Spotify, streaming, all the streaming services, all that stuff. Go check it out. Phenom was there from Chicago. But then also this amazing band, this amazing, mostly black band, and then two Palestinians. Our brother Ronnie Mali, who plays the oud, also a Southsider who has his roots are in Palestine, and Rami Neshashibi, who plays the guitar. And so while we were there preparing to do this live recording of the album that they produced and that I'm blessed to be part of and featured on, most of this crew is from Buffalo, and this horrific event that's not just a one-time event. It's not just an incident. In Buffalo, this white supremacist, went to a grocery store in a black community and with a machine gun and just started mowing down human beings in savage, cold blood. Drea Denur, the band leader, the vocalist, the pianist, the composer, the arranger, and I'm saying, sorry, but this band is like, guitar, bass, trumpet, drums, but then also a string section, amazing black women string section that play with Beyonce, and then vocalists, a choir, a miniature choir from Nashville where we were, including children. And this album is beautiful, and it's just so amazing and painful and healing and everything. And but most of the band, most of the original crew are from Buffalo. And this grocery store is in their neighborhood directly. And so Drea and Kadir and most of the players, they're directly affected. We get this news as we're in a rehearsal day. We're supposed to do the dress rehearsal where we one last time run through everything before the taping. And it's just heavy. Drea and Kadir are leaders in Buffalo. They're community leaders along with being artists. And so it's really heavy. And people know the people that were killed. And it's just very present. And so we go to rehearse, and Drea says, listen, I know we all flew in from out of town. I flew there 40 hours. I had a 40-hour travel, couple days from Istanbul to be there just for that. And there's a camera crew. Not just a camera crew, but like a black documentary filmmaking crew. We're in this big, beautiful, very expensive, historic Nashville recording complex where all these famous recordings have been made. It's actually built into a church. The building looks like it was formerly a church. And she said, I'm sorry, I know everybody's here because of this project that we're doing, and I know we're here to rehearse. She said, this is very painful for me, and we're going to do the first two songs because we need to run these songs, and then I'm done. And of course, everybody respects that. And I love when people do that. I love especially when women do that, when black people do that, when people who have this feeling that like, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to say what you need, that just say like, hey, this is what I can do. And this is what I can give this moment. So she starts to sing, and we ended up doing probably 2 hours. And it just was the first two songs. And then the second song is Amir Suleiman. And, so it's, and most of it was not the original songs, but it was a group of beautifully trained musicians who come from this black tradition, from the church tradition. And then all of these mostly black Muslim singers and rappers and MCs and songwriters and poets. And then these two Palestinian brothers. And we just went for hours, unscripted, did not need to be scripted, singing and crying and rocking and moaning and grunting and breathing. And so much came up for me in that moment, in that time. I've been in these spaces before, and they're the most healing spaces. They're the most healing places. And some of the things that I just want to share and just say are like, first of all, that's an environment that the music industry and whatever else has tried to replicate and co-opt. But all of this black music, all of this music that the world uses to heal and to be joyful and to make love to and to dance to and to laugh to and to cry to and to make meaning with, these musical traditions, whether it's reggae, whether it's the blues, whether it's rock, whether it's gospel, whether it's jazz, whether it's country, whether it's hip hop, whether it's EDM, all of this stuff comes from this black genius tradition that pulls from the ties of Africa and the roots of Africa, being the first human beings, being the human beings from which we all descend. This doesn't take anything away from anybody else, because these are our foreparents, all of us. These are our parents. These are our ancestors. These are the people that we come from. All of us, which is why it all speaks. I just was blessed to, this song came out this week that was produced by a guy named Chrome Beats, CHROME. No, OE something. CROHME, maybe. Forgive me, Chrome. We haven't met yet. But Chuck D, executive, produced it. Chuck and I rhyme on it. Speech from Arrested Development does some vocals on it as well. And then Doug Wimbish from Living Color and Sugar Hill Records, and he played on it. Very honored to be part of that. But what I say in that verse speaks so much, and I recorded this months ago, speaks so much to this reality that I'm talking about, that this African original human genius tradition shows up with the horrors of being captured, being castrated, being hunted, being transported, being separated from mothers and babies, being stolen, from children being raped, from people being separated from these lineages and tribes, and people being stolen from their families and from their languages and from their religions, and everything being done for centuries to remove the humanity from the original humans, to create, and this legacy then takes on a new life and a new form as a healing, as a communal healing force. And all of this music comes out of that. You know what I'm saying? That's all of the power that we're feeling from the music. It comes from that. So this conversation with Resma, so I'm in this space, man, where I'm just really wrestling with, one of the things that Resma said to me on the episode last week was, close your eyes and imagine, what if your father, being in a white body, and people have asked me, what's this whole thing about white bodies? I mean, yeah, we're a soul, I talk about that all the time. That's my thing. Yes, we're a soul. Yes, we're a mind. Yes, we're an intellect. Yes, we're a heart, a spiritual heart. Yes, we're an ego. Yes, we're that. That's who we are, but we live in bodies. And being holistic means that our bodies and our souls and our minds and our hearts and our intellect and our ego, all of this has to operate together. We have to be seen as the wholeness of what the human vessel is. And so dealing with the fact that this stuff was done and it continues to be done based to bodies, first of all. This stuff is done to the bodies. Racism, slavery, lynching, castration, rape, the prison industrial complex, recapturing, All of this stuff is done from certain bodies to certain other bodies based on an understanding about those bodies. So to say that bodies that have melanin will be subhuman, and bodies that have less, that are deemed to be white, those will be the standard by which all human beings will be measured. Everybody else will be seen as a mutation of that. All this stuff is being done from bodies to bodies, and is being done because of the way that bodies are seen and understood. And really reconnecting with that is a major missing piece that, for me, is important. You know what I mean? Because I have certain experiences, related to being albino, but and there are times that people think I'm black. Police pull guns on me, they think I'm black, they call it in, because I hear them call it in. 6-foot black male, 270 pounds, and I know, especially based on that, the way that they're responding to me and reacting to me when they see a black person. My parents are white, and what I inherit in terms of my family structure, and because of even experientially and physically and etc. It's like Resma says, close your eyes and imagine how would you and your life and how would you be different if you had come from a people who as a community had healed from the fact that these Europeans that came to America, they were running away. They were running away from something. Some of them maybe saw like new opportunities. Some of them were explorers, and they wanted to find new resources and new land and things like that. But many of them were fleeing, and many of the things, as Resma says, that all the things that white bodies did to non-white bodies, they first had done to them. So all this medieval stuff about tarring and feathering and castro, all of this stuff was done to them. And what Resma talks about is that, this trauma, if it's not contextualized, if it's not healed, if it's not processed, it lives inside of us, and it doesn't die. It doesn't go to sleep. It's got to go somewhere. And so if we don't do something, if we don't process it, if we don't sit with it, if we don't heal it, if we don't contextualize it, if we don't understand it, we end up, the way he talks about it is blowing it through other people's bodies. We end up pushing it to them. We end up doing it to them. And so all of these traumas and all of these nightmares and all of these catastrophes and all of these horrors is people passing their stuff to other people, like forcing others to wrestle with the stuff that we haven't healed yet. And so when Resma was like, how would you be different? It's like, dude, my father, right, died of suicide. When he died, I was in Europe. He died on the 4th of July, by the way. I was in Europe, and I get this call. I'm about to go on stage. It's 4th of July. It's not 4th of July in Europe. And my son had just been with him, and all this stuff, man. Like I'm sitting here without notes, and I don't even know where to begin with this stuff. But my father, I never knew what he was going through. I never really knew what he was going through. I knew something wasn't right, and sometimes he would hit me, but I just knew that he had this like rage inside of him. He had this anger inside of him. But I never understood it, and we never spoke about it. I knew that he struggled with addiction. I knew that he struggled with all types of stuff, but mostly addiction and rage. And he started over in life many, many times, several times with my mom and with our family. We started over, moved to new cities and started over. And I never knew why. He would come into a place and everybody loved him, and then it seemed like everyone turned again. He left, and we had to go somewhere else and went through that cycle again. So I'm always the new kid in school. We're always packing up and moving. I can never have friendships for very long. You know what I'm saying? And then And I knew that he was arrested for stuff. I knew that but I never really knew what that was about. My grandfather also died of suicide. We never had a conversation about that. I never knew anything about what that was, how he felt about it. There was never any of that. What was my grandfather's real story? I have no clue. And then when my dad died, you know, I flew home. Shout out to James Baker, who works at First Avenue. He was my tour manager at that time, because I had no clue what to do. I had these big festivals. I was doing big festivals. I was doing some of the biggest festivals in Europe at that time. We played, what's that big one in England? I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's the big one that Jay-Z headlined and everybody went crazy over it. How dare they have Jay-Z headline this thing? Can't remember the name of it now. But I mean, I did play that, I played all these big festivals. And so James Baker figured out a way that I could go to Pennsylvania where my dad lived. And then his wife started telling me all this amazing stuff about my dad that I never knew. My dad, when he was in college in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, he got in a fight and he like really beat this dude up bad. He like broke his arm, you know what I'm saying? And I remember my dad told us one time, I think he said that he was at the YMCA in the shower and that a gay person attacked him. That's what I was told. But he never went into that. We didn't ask him questions about his life. There was no space talking about that. But that he got arrested and he got convicted of some level of crime where he had to do time in the county jail. And they let him out of jail to go to college because he was a college kid. I'm like, man, first of all, it's one of the most white man things I've ever heard in my life. And, there's this white brother in Minneapolis, Raymond Dean, who is a politician, a representative from North Minneapolis. He's somewhat controversial. He's mostly beloved, but he's one of the white men in my life, and he's my dad's age that we've had really real conversations around what it means to be a white person that loves justice and that cares about justice and cares about black people and, like wants to be right and wants the world to be right. Like, how do you do that? All the white people I know like that, it's like, they don't know what the hell to do. What do you do about it? So you talk and you do all this stuff and like, is it helping? And he was telling me that he had a run-in with the law and he felt like they went easy on him when he was young. And I was telling him, yeah, I didn't find out until my dad died, this stuff. But like, man, and all of these things, like all of these like really gritty things in life, you know what I'm saying, that happened with my father. And I'm like, man, if I had a chance to talk to this dude, we might have had a relationship because that stuff is interesting. You know what I mean? Like I can relate to that. I can relate to feeling like, man, I'm messing everything up and I got all these struggles and these addictions and I'm, all of this stuff, man. He got fired for a job for using the computer that the device they gave him wrong. You know what I'm saying? He's telling me like, no, it's not porn. I was just, like, man, come on, dude, let's talk about the real stuff. Like, man, what kind of relationship could I have had with my dad if we just had a real conversation about what he was actually struggling with? That would have made this guy interesting to me. And you know what I'm saying? And I'm not blaming him for it, but like Resma says, we come from a community that doesn't do that. And I know most communities don't do that, but it's like, people always use the Nazis and the Holocaust and Hitler as the reference points for things because it seems to be the only oppression that we care about. You know what I'm saying? It seems to be the only one that universally everybody understands is bad. If you want to say the name of a bad person that everybody thinks is worthy of the hellfire, you say Hitler. Because everybody agrees that's a bad person. And it's not lost on me that the one tragedy, the one Holocaust that we all agree on is the European Jewish people. And there are Jews that aren't white who have been through terrible things. You know what I'm saying? But we're talking specifically about something that happened in Europe that European people did to other European people, that white people did to other white people. That's the one that we seem to all care about. But it's like, Now we look back on that, and we say, if you were in Germany in the late 30s and 40s, whether you were Jewish or whether were an Aryan German, that matters in that scenario. Because if you were an Aryan German at that time, deemed to be a white, pure-blooded, whatever Hitler's thing was, whatever the Nazis' thing was, that you were white, you were a real German. Who you were and how you were during that situation really matters. Like that says a lot about how you are and who you are. You know what I'm saying? Well, in this country, we've had a 500-year version of that. And we ignore it, we deny it, we act like it's just some people's, that's just their opinion. I'm sorry, history is going to tell the truth about this. You know, who we are in this moment is who we would have been in Germany in the late 30s. You know what I'm saying? Or any of these horrible tragedies and catastrophes in the world. We're living in this structural system where this stuff happens over and over and over again. You know, and Resmaa is saying, how would you be different? And I think for myself about as great as I am, as dope as I know I am, there's all kinds of things about me I feel very grateful to the Creator for. Like, I can talk to anybody. I can connect with people. I get on the mic, whether it's, whether I'm rhyming and making music. Like, I've been given the great ability to write songs that people tattoo on their bodies and that change their lives. And that's all greatness is for the Creator. It's true. It's real. But I've been given those gifts. And hopefully I'm doing the right thing with those gifts. I get up every day trying to figure out what's the way to do this right. And when I'm not doing that, y'all, I'm usually in a room full of people talking about stuff. Except for when I moved to Istanbul. This is the first time I've ever been a private person. And I just get to sit with me and my family and what's going on inside me and what am I doing to them? Because the stuff that's not being contextualized in me, processed in me, they're feeling it. And the people that work with me are feeling it. And I know they are. And I hope that they're patient with me long enough. And I'm feeling theirs too. You know what I'm saying? I'm feeling theirs too. And I pray that we can stick together and work it out and contextualize it so we can heal and we can improve and we can move forward, But as great as I am, and I'm tall, I got this big voice, you know what I'm saying? All this stuff people tell me, you know what I'm saying? People are like, man, the older everyone else gets, how come you're not aging? I think it's probably because I don't drink or smoke or anything, but I don't know, you know what I mean? And I see myself aging, but I feel very good about it all. But all of that, I have a very deep sense of inadequacy that has shown up in the ways that I prioritize other men around me, the ways that I do not speak up about things I need. I allow myself to be used as a commodity over and over and over again. I have relationship after relationship, especially with men that are a little bit older than me, where I don't really keep track of what do I need from you. I just give and 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 don't ever think about, wait, well, what do I need in this situation? And by the time I start realizing that, I got this dynamic with them where it's like, that's not part of what this is. That's not part of our arrangement. You know what I'm saying? How dare you flip the script and start showing up and talking about you need this and you need that? That's not what this is. So I got these relationships, man, that some of them are broken. Some of them are fractured. And I have relationships with communities and groups like that too, where I show up and just give, never thinking about or keeping track of, well, what do I need? You know what I'm saying? So when things go down and it's like, how come nobody cares about me? Well, I created that dynamic with so many circles of people, with so many, and then I had all these expectations that I never articulated even to myself, but just this deep sense of inadequacy, you know what I'm saying, that I never cared for my body until very recently. I never thought about my own self, like my body. You know what I mean? I've been overweight all my life. And yeah, I can say it's because I'm albino and the sun is bad to me, so I shouldn't really go outside. And I can't see very well, so it's dangerous for me to run and whatever, man. Krondon looks great. Krondon figured out a way to work out. Krondon, you know what I'm saying? There are albinos that figure it out. There's albino track stars, you know what I'm saying? And we don't like comparing ourselves. You know, so much of this anti-blackness is just like, man, white people don't like comparing themselves to black people. And so a lot of times we just want that comparison to suffer so that we can feel better because we don't want to compare ourselves to them. But it's like, man, you just recognize like, man, we are a human family, and these are the origin of it all. So like, yeah, that's, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, all this greatness started there. So I'm saying all of that to just say, so what's to be done? What's to be done? What Resma says is like, never mind, like there's a lot of awesome white people, individuals, but what about culture? What about groups? What about creating culture of healing, of wholeness, of humanity, and being expressly anti-racist, being expressly about like getting out of this white supremacist way of living and being. And it has to happen communally with white body people, and it has to happen between bodies. Man, there's something I want to share, and I actually did take notes about this part. I was on a plane, and I don't like watching. I'm not a movie person. I'm not a TV person. There's a couple movies, and it's not that I never watch them. It's just I go back to the same ones over and over again. That's not the medium for me. But I was on the flight, and I was watching. I was looking around on the flight, and they had this documentary about Woodstock '99. If you get a chance to watch it, this thing is horrifying. It's horrifying. Basically, 30 years after Woodstock '69, the original Woodstock joint. And shout to Questlove, who did the movie The Summer of Soul, where he talked about basically the equivalent of like a black Woodstock that didn't really get any coverage. This, same time period, all these amazing artists, these free shows. It was in an urban setting over the course of several weekends, I think. But basically a black Woodstock that just got buried. You know what I'm saying? White Woodstock becomes this legendary thing, this like mythical thing, Woodstock, in upstate New York. So 30 years later, they get the idea. We're going to do Woodstock '99, and it's this big festival, and several days outside, and they just talk about the contrast of like what Woodstock, the original joint, was about versus Woodstock '99 was held, first of all, on a military base, where the first one was about, opposing the Vietnam War, among other things. So this one was held on a military base. So they have this big, like 3 or 4 day festival that was just absolute savagery. I mean, it was just savage. The first day was okay. And there's footage of DMX performing. If you saw when DMX passed away, he's wearing these red overalls, no shirt, this red outfit by himself on this enormous stage with hundreds of thousands of almost entirely white audience. And he was amazing. I mean, just phenomenal performance. But watch this documentary. It's triggering. I'm telling you, there's sexual violence, but they really talk about that time period. So DMX goes out, and this whole crowd is singing the chorus to one of his songs with the N-word in it, and they're singing it over and over and over and over and over again. But you watch this thing, and it just devolves over the course of several days. One of the main things they show is just how women were being groped and being sexually abused. The medics say that these men were being, quote, straight up savages. That, I mean, this stuff is triggering, but they were raping women. I mean, repeatedly, there was, feces everywhere, that people were rolling in the mud, but it actually wasn't mud. Like it was urine and feces. It was human waste, You know what I'm saying? A woman was crowd surfing, and the men pulled her clothes off, and were putting. I mean, just I'm not gonna go into it, but horrible, and saying things, rip her apart, all this stuff, horrible, just straight savagery. They handed out candles because there was a group there that had just, they had just gone through Columbine. You think about what Columbine is. You know what I'm saying? This rage that exists inside of white-bodied young people, like white young people that go up and shoot up the school. I'm sorry, that's not something that people of color do. People of color don't go shoot up the school. So they handed out candles so that they could have a vigil, and the candles were used to just burn piles of trash, and there were just fires, you know what I'm saying, by the end of it. Just crazy. I mean, insane. Just be, trigger warning, but check out this joint. So one of the things that they showed was the Limp Bizkit performance. And I don't mean to single anybody out. I don't know them. I've never met them. I've never been around them. I don't know what they're like. But when Resma says, when traumas aren't contextualized and healed, that they have to go somewhere. People blow those through the bodies of other people. They push that pain through the bodies of other people, and they typically do it with the people who that they have power or control over. So men do it to women. Big, tall people do it to short people. Police do it to others, people with weapons or money or power or platforms, or they blow that usually through bodies of people that don't have the ability to defend themselves. You see people kicking their dogs. You see people abusing their children. You see people that work for elders, that work in elder care, abusing them, smacking them. You know what I'm saying? This stuff comes out. It goes somewhere. And so what Resma talks about, and that we just see over and over and over again, is people blowing their trauma through other people. And so Fred Durst gets up, and and again, not to single him out, and there's a quote from an amazing this journalist woman, lady, amazing, she says that I think is really amazing. But he gets on stage, and I mean, this is what they're calling new metal in the late 90s, you know what I'm saying, in new metal. But it's basically white dudes rapping. They're dressing like rappers. They got baggy pants and backwards hats, and they're performing as rappers, but they're rapping over metal music, white artists for white audiences. And it's important to note here that there's a history in this country of blackface and minstrel shows. And what they essentially did was white people putting on black costumes and, burning cork and putting shoe polish and putting ash on their face to dress up, to try to embody black people, to try to decorate and disguise their bodies as black bodies, and then act out the worst of their own character, to do all the worst things that they want to do, and to let the worst of themselves come out in black face and in black bodies. And it continues to this day. I'm saying, you look at artists and they say, what do you think about this white artist and that white artist, especially in hip hop music? It's like one of the things that I look at, are they acting out the worst of humanity in a black art, a cultural art form? Because that has a direct historical connection that needs to be understood. So is a person on stage just being a narcissist, nihilist, violent, talking crazy about women? Is this the lowest common denominator, anger and lust and greed? Is this about materialism and the most base sexuality and violence and just getting all this energy out for and there's no message, there's no positivity, there's nothing like that? Because that has but it's a white person with a mostly white audience in a black cultural art form that has a historical, and it's blackface, it's minstrel shows. And then we could go on and on about any one of these points, or any one of these things I'm saying, because then they also started allowing black people to perform for white audiences, also in blackface. But you have to be our stereotype of what a black person is. So all of this can be unpacked, and I'm happy to talk for days about all of these things. But so Fred Durst is on stage, and we think about anger and rage, that this is so often like what shows up in white people. I mean, I feel it in myself. And like when white people are together, like it's rage. So much of that anger is like this. It's the only way for men, and especially for white men, to have emotion, is rage. Fred Durst gets on stage and he says, this is a quote, I wrote this down as it's time to reach down inside, take all that negative energy. And I'm going to say the words he says. So I'm going to be cussing if you're listening with your kids. People listen with their kids, and people just don't like cursing. And honestly, I don't like it anymore either. I just don't like it anymore. I used to use it a lot. I don't like it anymore. But this is what he said. I'm going to say what he said. He said, it's time to reach down inside yourself. He's yelling at this audience that's been hurting women and just going crazy. I mean, MTV pulled their VJs out. Kurt Loder and them left for fear of their safety. They're like, this is not a safe environment. This is a savage anarchy that's going on. This is what he says to the audience. Time to take all that negative energy. Let that shit out of your fucking system. You got girl problems. You got boy problems. You got parent problems, boss problems, job problems. You got a problem with me. You got a problem with yourself. It's time to take that that negative energy and put it the fuck out. You feel me, Woodstock? When this song kicks in, I want you to fucking kick in. And then some of this, I think, is from the song. But again, I don't know their music. And it's no diss to them. I'm not singling them out. I feel like shit. My suggestion is to keep your distance. Because right now I'm dangerous. That's the performance. We've all felt like shit and been treated like shit. All those motherfuckers want to step up. I hope you know I'm like a chainsaw. I'll skin your ass raw. It keeps going this way. I might break a face tonight. Give me something to break. How about that fucking face? This is what he's saying. You know what I'm saying? And I can contrast that with the experience I just had. I'm watching this on the plane, leaving this beautiful black cultural, communal, healing space and energy that I just was honored and fortunate to be allowed into. And then going to these other shows that I'm doing, which is mostly white audiences. And this woman, journalist, amazing, Maureen Callahan, and she wrote for Spin Magazine. But she's dope. And I don't agree with everything she said, you know what I'm saying? But she said some amazing points. She said, you can look at what happened to women there, and you can say it's Woodstock, and the guy who led it, was this man, John Seher. And I mean, I'm just like, man, you talking about, this is one of the people that I'm like, yo, this dude is evil. This is evil that you look at. I mean, Kurt Loder and the other journalists, and Maureen was one of them. And I don't know any of these people. But he was Carson Daly was there too, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And Carson Daly had me on his show, and he was really kind to me and stuff. But I don't know him either. We just had that one interaction. But they're telling him, yo, this is a problem. And this man, John Seher, that ran the festival, is just cursing these people out, man. And she said, we can talk about these women and we can blame the event, but look at Girls Gone Wild. I mean, this was she said, her quote that I wrote down from her, she said, we never asked the deeper existential questions of why are so many men in America so angry? And I would include in that, in this particular case, so many white men. And So this is me processing the experiences that I've had, but I have this experience, and it's jarring. It's jarring for me because my family is white. I was welcomed and included. And when I say welcomed, like I get to be a person. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, oh, the royal ambassador from white people is here. It's like I'm a person. You know what I'm saying? I'm one of the other people. So I mean, I get roasted and I get in fights and I get done wrong and I get all the other stuff, but it's a communal thing. So I get welcomed into these spaces and I'm honored to be there. And it feels like home. The people are like, you're our brother. I was telling Drea, and the older I get, the more kind of I just want to practice Islam as it is. You know what I'm saying? I want to follow the Sharia. I believe it. It's the right thing for me. So, I'm for several years, like I haven't been in the habit of like hugging and women and like that aren't my family, my wife, my daughters. You know what I'm saying? I just don't, this what the Sharia says. I just don't do it. And we have this amazing experience and our sister Drea is like, look, I know we're Muslims. She's like, I can tell, that. And I was just telling her, like, man, I honor you so much. I love you so much. I appreciate you so much. I just, like, when you were playing the other night, it felt like watching God reveal something. It's the way I felt. And she's like, okay, but I'm going to give you a hug now. You know what I mean? And just culturally, that's the thing. It's like, yeah, but I'm going to need to, and just a friendly brother, sister type of, But I go from this environment where these amazing people, and it's like, in a lot of ways, that's the one place where I genuinely feel good. And what Resma told me one time is like, hey, you're not special in that way. That's not just you. You know what I'm saying? You're not alone in that, is another way to maybe say it. But like, that's a lot of European white people feel the same way. Just making sure I'm still recording, you guys. That's not new. That's not new. And it's jarring to go from that to being in all white spaces because that type of healing doesn't exist. That type of communal mourning and grieving and joy and celebration, it doesn't exist. And when it does, it's white people using Black communal healing creative force to do that. I had these great shows. I just played in Fargo last night. Fargo, North Dakota. I mean, come on. Fargo, North Dakota. And it was great. And, George Floyd's fiance was there and it was great. It was dope. But it's like, man, all of these white people in this room, and they're all drinking, it was at a brewery, and it's like we can't have this if it's not for using Black cultural art forms. So it's, so people are like, well, why don't you quit then? Well, because quit and do what? Quit and then what? So, you know what I'm saying? Why don't you stop? If you're so, man, white people say crazy stuff to me. You know what I'm saying? And like they people accuse me of like lying and saying I was Black. I never did that. I had confusion about how to understand my life and myself. And so I didn't explain it well because I didn't understand it well. And as I explore it, I express it. That's the best I can do. And if I'm wrong, then I've never said I was right. I might have an energy like I think I'm right, and I get that. I get that. But it's because of I'm so certain about the things I believe in. You know what I mean? And I'm so certain about the creator and the divine. And I just know that, like, if I'm sincere and I do my best, it'll work out. Not because of me, but because of the source of it all, the one who's orchestrating it all. I just know that. I've done it too many times. So I'm certain about that. I'm not certain about my own rightness at all. It's not about being right, you know. But like, man, the really daunting idea of what would it mean and what would it look like and what would it be for white people to intentionally heal together. Because honestly, that's the thing that hasn't been tried. Black people have done everything under the sun. People of color have done everything under the sun. And I have to say, I got to give a shout out my man, Chaplain Shane Atkinson, one of my dear friends, white Muslim brother from the South. He's from Mississippi. We'll have him on the show, inshallah. We actually recorded an interview one time, but there was technical problems, so we have to do it again. But Chaplain Shane is a beautiful dude, man. And he said, hey, I want to correct something or just kind of add some nuance to something. He said, you know, in the Resma interview, you said it's physically dangerous to be black in America, and it's socially dangerous to be a white person that actually loves black people and loves themselves and wants to heal and be whole and loves wholeness and humanity enough to actually do something about it. He said it's not just socially dangerous, it's also physically dangerous. And he told me some stories about his own family and his self, you know, that I'll let him tell. Those aren't my stories to tell. But he reminded me, you know, he's from Mississippi, and he reminded me that the good old white boys knew where the white Jewish civil rights workers were buried, because the good old white boys killed these young white Jewish brothers that were down there fight. And I mean, Viola Liuzzo was a white woman that was on the Freedom Ride, an Italian American woman that went on the Freedom Rides, and they killed her. You know what I'm saying? And Harry Belafonte talks in his memoir about meeting her family, because he helped organize the Freedom Rides. And I think he said, I might be wrong, but I think Mr. Belafonte said that her son tried to kick him in the private parts. So he was like, you got my mom killed. So he reminded me, you know, he said, you know, the difference is it's not the same type of danger because it's a choice. But when people do engage in that choice, we have to just acknowledge their sacrifice and what they're doing. And yeah, you know, I was flying from Nashville back, you know, to the Midwest, and as I was getting on my flight, I hold my phone under the thing, and it beeped crazy. And I know that beep. That's the beep that says, don't let him on. And I'm saying, I have 4S a lot of the time. The FBI came to my house on my birthday. You know, they've messed with they've taken money from me. They've done a lot of things to me. And you know, so I'm thinking it's beeping because I'm about to have a security check. I'm supposed to be a priority status member on this airline. I'm supposed to easy breezy walk on the plane, sit down first and plug my phone in and get offered snacks and all this stuff, because I do all my flying on one airline. So it beeps, and I start preparing myself for what I know could happen. It's a spectrum. Some people just want to see my passport. They want to lay eyes on me. They know I'm traveling. They're just there to see what's up with me. They're going to ask me some basic questions. They're going to let me get on a plane. But it could mean I get taken into a room. It could mean I have to take my clothes off. It could mean my private parts get touched. It could mean I get interrogated. It could mean I miss my flight and have to get a hotel and stay overnight. It could mean that I'm threatened. Like, I've been physically threatened. I've been threatened with prison just for traveling. Like, I'm just traveling. I'm getting all ready for this conversation of, what's your address? Okay, respectfully, why do you need what does my address have to do with flying for a U.S. citizen within 2 U.S. cities? I've got proper ID. I've gone through security. I have a boarding pass. What does my address have to do with this? Well, where do you live? What country do you live in? Well, are you Muslim? Do you speak Arabic? Okay, respectfully, none of these have anything to do with this, and this is profiling. You're profiling me. I've not committed any crime. You're not accusing me of any crime. I'm not suspected of any crime. I'm not charged with any crimes. You know what I'm saying? I became Muslim when I was 15. I don't have, the only criminal record that I have is protesting, civil disobedience. You know what I'm saying? I'm not, you know what I'm saying? You don't have the right to ask me things and where that could go. Or I just give them all my information and I just capitulate. So in my body, I'm getting ready to get stripped, to get detained, for people to put their hands on me, to get searched, for them to go through all my stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm being prepared for my bag to get taken off the flight and lost. And I have recording stuff in there because I'm supposed to be recording new music. You know what I'm saying? I'm preparing for all that in my body, in my mind, and in my body. And I step up to the counter and I say, why am I not being allowed on the plane? Oh, it's because you were flying standby. I'm not flying standby. So I have to now, they never tell you we're profiling you. They never tell you that. They always tell you it's random. They always tell you it's something else. Oh, someone else bought your ticket, so we just want to make sure that it's the same person, whatever, flying. They never tell you. They gaslight you. So I'm getting prepared for all of that, and then I realized that the other worker, she's like, oh no, flights are being canceled. It was a crazy travel day. My connecting flight got canceled, so they didn't want me on this flight because they saw that if I were to fly from Nashville to Atlanta, I wouldn't be able to there's no more flights going to what my destination city was. So it's fine. You know what I'm saying? But my body just had to go through all of that. You know what I'm saying? And my heart and everything else. I just had to go through all of that. I was preparing to be assaulted. I was preparing to be violated because it's happened so many times. You know what I'm saying? But that's a choice. That's because I chose to rap the way I rap. It's because I chose to be publicly Muslim. It's because I chose to perform Uncle Sam Goddamn in Iran. I made that choice. It's because I chose to perform it on Conan O'Brien. It's because I chose to say the things I've done. It's because I chose to accept Minister Farrakhan's invitation and go visit him. It's because I chose to, all of this stuff. None of those things are illegal, by the way. But I chose to do that stuff because it matters to me, not because anybody's going to pay me for it. My fans weren't asking for it. I chose to do those things because it matters to me. And it matters to my family and the people that raised me. And like, I am who I am because somebody loved me, all of that. So thank you, Brother Shane, Imam Shane, Chaplain Shane, for reminding me that. But it's like, this is an ongoing thing, and there's got to be this communal work, and it's got to be cultural. Dr. Omar Farouk Abdullah, my primary teacher, who is a European American, by the way, and he's my sheikh. And now he and I together have the teacher's teacher, who's Sheikh Muhammad Jailani in the Gambia, a black African man. But I mean, my relationship with Dr. Omar Farouk Abdullah has been incredibly healing for me because he's an elder, he's in his 70s, who feels the way I feel. You know what I mean? And is like, hey, we make mistakes every day, don't we? We show our, all this stuff every day, don't we? And it's like, yeah, we're going to work on this together, and process it together. But he wrote a paper called Islam and the Cultural Imperative. And it's in defense of Muslim artists, especially black artists, because there's this conversation in the Muslim community about whether or not people should do music and play musical instruments and all this stuff. And some of the scholars actually said they thought it was forbidden, but not all of them. And Dr. Omar is a thoroughly classically trained scholar. In multiple traditions. Like there's not he just is that. So he wrote a paper in defense of art and artists, and especially, and I mean, he talks a lot about, the same stuff I'm talking about. One of the things he says in there is that all of the places that Islam went all over the world. There's converts all over the world, but the places where they were able to create, to develop a civilization, it's because of the fact that they were able to create culture, synthesize the culture that's there, heal it of the things that are destructive, and create culture. When people say, normalize doing so-and-so, you see tweets like that and memes like that. Normalize doing this. Normalize saying when you're tired. Normalize hugging your whatever. This is what culture actually does. And that's what they mean. And that's why everybody that wants to make change does it by going at culture for good, bad, and other. I hope to have speech from Arrested Development on this show. And speech, I think, is a great example of somebody from, you look at Arrested Development. I mean, that is healthy, healing, holistic, Black, beautiful, positive music. And they had hit after hit after hit after hit after hit. And then for whatever reason, the record industry decides they don't want to work with them anymore. There's women in the group. There's elders in the group. The music is positive. It's funky. It's bringing people together. Everybody loves it. Nobody hates on them. And look what happened. So they go at culture. Anybody that wants to normalize something does it through culture. And what Resma talks about is like, where are the cultures? He said, for as crazy as the Klan is and the supremacists and all this stuff, they got songs, they have birth rituals, they have death rituals, they have colors they wear, they have ceremonies. It's all up and through their families. They have culture. Why do the people on the right work with the evangelical Christians? The evangelical Christians, it's like, do the people on the right really care about abortion? Maybe some do, maybe some don't. I'm not saying I'm pro or anti or whatever. In Islam, we have a different view. In Islam, we're not pro or anti-abortion. You know what I'm saying? Women and their doctors and their religious advisors and healers and families, they make those decisions on a case-by-case basis. That's what the Muslims have done since there's been abortion. So it's not illegal, and it's not, everybody go get them. But there's a different approach, which is the case with most issues. It's just different. So I'm not weighing in on that right now. I'm saying I think the Republicans are wrong for saying that women can't have abortions, but I don't think they actually care about it. The fact is that they're able to mobilize Christian conservatives, and there's Christian conservatives that I love that are in my family. My uncle was an evangelical Christian. He thought I was going to hell. He thought me and my family were going to hell when we died because we didn't accept his religion. But he also deeply respected the fact that we were religious, and he loved us and we loved him. And it just is what it is, man. But that community has culture, and they will vote based on that one issue. They'll vote based on abortion because it's not just political to them, it's cultural. They're born, they have ceremonies, they got songs that they live and die by generationally. They got institutions that are cultural in the community. It's part of the fabric of life. And so they will support whoever says they're going to outlaw abortion. So what Resma is saying, and so many others, he's not the only one saying it, but it's like, man, it doesn't, like, it's good to be a nice person. It's good to individually be in solidarity and to serve and love and care about Black people. It's good to speak up. It's good to make these kind of sacrifices. It's good to be spiritual. All that's good. It's good to go to therapy. It's good to, retweet stuff. It's good to spend your money with Black businesses. What's really going to change stuff is white people creating culture together that's anti-racist. Damn. And I mean, that's really daunting. That's really, really daunting. And I don't have the answers. And he also says it'll likely take generations. And there's not going to be this like moment. There's not going to be a triumphant moment where we get to be the founding fathers of anti-racist, But that's the thing that hasn't been done. Everything else has been done. There's nothing that people say, why don't Black people do so-and-so? They have done it all. Everything, 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 and everything, and everything. Except for retaliate. That's the only thing that hasn't been done. That's the only thing that Black people have not tried. Yes, there have been Black individuals that have killed white individuals. There was a DC sniper. I'm saying it's so minuscule that it's the exceptions that prove the rule. Black people have done everything except for kill white people the way that white people kill them. That's the only thing that hasn't been tried. So it's like, okay, but everything else you can say, get a job, go to school, get a business, raise your family, be respectable, become educated, make money, join the army, be part of, engage the political process, everything. from all different vantage points and with different ideologies and with different names and with different so-and-so. And what happened? Every time those things happen, the FBI in this country had a program called Cointelpro, the counterintelligence program that infiltrated every positive black group that there's been. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad, the Black Panthers, the NAACP, the Urban League, Jesse Jackson's organization, the churches, all of those, to sow discord between people, to try to get people to commit crimes, to try to get people hooked on drugs. They planted fake stories. They wrote fake letters starting beef between people to break up those organizations. They infiltrated them. They had people that went in and were actually agents. They had people that go in there and try to, all of this stuff. And what was the goal of that? It's written and documented. The goal was to prevent the rise of a black messiah. This is the FBI of the United States. The FBI, nobody got charged with a crime for this. Nobody got punished for this. Nobody's been considered treasonous. These are black organizations that have tried to do good. Not to mention bombing black business districts and burning down black towns and murdering, just the assassination of black people. And then all the terrorist events over and over and over and over and over again, white terrorism over and over and over again. But these organizations prevent the rise of a black messiah. What is a messiah? A messiah is somebody who comes to give truth and healing and to bring people together and to unite people around everything good. That's what a messiah is. Somebody that could unite everybody. So literally, black solidarity, love, togetherness is under attack. And think about what does it mean when somebody says that I want to prevent a messiah? The Antichrist. I mean, what else is the Antichrist? So everything's been tried except for white people creating culture and having communal healing. So is that a solution? Is that the answer? No, I don't have the answers. I don't. So what do I have? So there's not a way to wrap this up and conclude it. You know what I mean? There's just not a way to do that. There's not a pretty solution. If I was writing a song, I might come up with a good way to end it, and Ant could do something musically so that it would feel like a conclusion. But there's not a conclusion for this. So I'm just gonna stop here and just say that instead of continuing to put out, but we got a dope episode next week with Amir Suleiman. We were in this environment, so I didn't do a traditional interview with him. We'll have to do another episode. Brendan, the producer of this podcast, who's somebody that's deeply committed to this stuff as well, and also doesn't have answers either. But a big part of our work together throughout our career together has been about this, about what do we do, and what do we do, and how do we do this, and in a lot of ways, just doing that kind of work between each other and figuring out like how do we relate, because we scrape up against each other and trying to do this work, trying to figure it out. We're making the path by walking, and when you do that, you go through a lot of mess and you get beat up. That's the nature of it. So, but you either do that or you bypass. You either do that or you pretend it's not there, and we're not pretending it's not there. That's not what we're doing. So, Brendan reminded me that, this wasn't an interview with Amir Suleiman. So, and he was like, man, you talk so much about Amir. I couldn't wait to hear all of Amir's life story. And then he's like, then you guys just had this dope conversation, which is dope. It's great. There's a lot there. Amir shares a lot. We talk about a lot of stuff. It's super amazing, but it wasn't an interview per se. You know what I'm saying? So you just get to experience Amir instead of, which in my opinion might even be better than asking him to tell his story. But that'll be next week. But I really wanted to pause for a second and just have a proverbial breath take a breath for the people that listen, you know. We're brought to you by the Zakat Foundation, and they're amazing. We're brought to you by Udamentary. They're amazing. We're brought to you by The Quaking of America, Resma's new book. I haven't read it yet, but he's amazing. I know it's got to be amazing. When it's an audio book, then I'll be able to really sit with it. I'm legally blind. I can't sit and just read a book like that, but I'm looking forward to that. And, you know, you can go to brotherali.com, find out about our music and podcasts and merch and all of that stuff. But I just wanted to just take a breath because it's the only thing I could think to do with what I'm carrying right now, and just share this with you. I love you. I appreciate you, no matter who you are, no matter where you're listening. The connection that we have. I even appreciate the people that are angry, and there are people that are angry and argue and things like that. You know, I'm not here to argue with anybody. I'm not here to defend myself. You know, people say all kinds of things about me, and it's just not it doesn't feel worth my time to defend myself with people. They're going to view me how they view me. And, you know, I'm grateful for the engagement. I'm grateful for the connection. And so I'm going to leave it there. I love you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.